And hello, everybody, and welcome back to Magical Journey podcast. Um, Before we get into tonight's thing, I'm going to first of all give you guys a head up about the new and improved changes going on over at magicaljourney.com. Go over there and check it out. I promise you, there's the new blog, which has all of the links coming up to all the podcasts from here on out in this season that's going to be aired here. So if you miss a season, you can always go to there, or miss a season, a episode, you can go there, check it out on the blog. There's a nice description there that I've generated just for the site. And you've got a link right there, along with a lot of other interesting links that is going to be good for you to know, including where to pick up magical merch at. I also want to give a shout out to the amazing Mystical Mountain Creations. I always get that kind of tongue-tied. My mug, my cup here, is one of the creations that these guys did, and I gotta tell you, I love it. I keep it with me all the time, and it keeps me hydrated frequently throughout the day. So remember that, and there is the link for it. Now, tonight, my guest is well known in the cryptid community for an incredible amount of work and a labor of love in the Patterson-Gimlin film. We've heard countless debates over time that this guy has literally crushed it. He's answered the questions through the gateway of one piece of evidence, and that is the Patterson-Gimlin film. And tonight, I'm going to have m.k.Davis talking to us about this amazing piece of historical documentation. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to bring Mr. Davis on for you. Hey.
Oh, good to be here.
It's good to have you here. I've been looking forward to this. I'm still getting used to the new headset and so forth, so it's really kind of like still a labor of love with me trying to get used to all the technology. So I'm stammering a little bit with it still because I hear my voice in my ear. It's weird. But tell us a little bit about you, as if we already know everything pretty much, but tell us about yourself and anything that you want to promote it out for us tonight.
Well, I don't know about promotion, but except for tonight, at least, I'll be promoting the Patterson film. But as far as how I got into this is, I got in through the back door. I was into astronomy and I was taking space photos. I did astrophotography. So I was taking space photos with a telescope. A lot of that involved, timed exposures. You had to track the object. You learn a lot about film. Back in those days, it was film. And what films were sensitive to what bandwidths of light. And some objects were dominant green, others were dominant red. And sometimes you want all the colors to pop. How do you get it to do that? And filters and things like that. And this was back when the internet was in its infancy. And I saw a frame on the internet that I was stunned when I saw it. It was from the Patterson film, frame 350, and it had been treated much the same way that you would treat an astrophoto. It had been used, filtration had been used to sharpen it and then to boost contrast. And it was clearly not the same as what you saw on TV normally. That that this was a really sharp image, and you can't get an image like that from a bad film. And what they show on TV only showed a silhouette, a dark silhouette, and it was all shaky and going all over the place, and it was still intriguing, but it was hard for anyone to come to a conclusion. So I said to myself, I said, well, if there's a film out there somewhere that has all frames of this quality, that this film should tell its own story. You shouldn't have to strain to see anything. And we know enough from our everyday living that when you see things moving about in a human body under the skin, the muscles and the flexation and the bones and the scapula and things like that moving, that that is very difficult to do with a suit on, if not impossible back in that day. So I began an inquiry as to where do I get better frames from the film, preferably from the master. And I got enough attention that I was invited to speak up in Oregon, and I went and I made some contacts up there, and from a gentleman there in Canada, and he was able to get me a lot of really good stuff. And then I was able to put it through the processing and boost it even more. And then I was able eventually to fill in all the gaps, and I had a version of the film that was sharper than anything out there and more stable, which is another important matter because you can't look at more than one plane of movement, at one time. So if it's going up and down, round and round, and then you got the background coming this way and the creature going this way, after a while your brain kind of, hey, I'm on overload. So if you're able to bring all of that to the center and hold it, as if it were mounted on a tripod, well, then you're able to concentrate on what you're looking at a whole lot better. You start seeing things. And so I did all of that, and one night, one wee hour of the morning, I hit preview, and I was stunned. It was just the sharpest, clearest. You can see so many things. It's just hard to believe, and so I thought my thoughts were, well, it's telling its story, you know. So there began my journey, the second part of my journey. After realizing what you're looking at is real, uh, you have to ask yourself, what's the nature of it? How does this relate to me? So you begin to seek the answers to other questions, and it's just been an ongoing thing to this present day.
Yeah. One of the things that I gotta tell you, when it was I was a kid, probably about 6 or 7 years old when I first saw a film on television. And you're right, it like I was so distracted by it bouncing around and so forth. I was like, "What is this?" Uh, Even as a kid, I was thinking that. But what do you believe is the most overlooked and misunderstood aspect of the film by the public or even the cryptid community?
Oh, that's a good question. It's one of those things where the more you look, the more you find.
Mhm,
And in a hoax, you only find what's built into it by the designer. In a real life event, you you find everything going on at one time, and
Mhm.
and you can take 25 years to completely, acknowledge everything that's going on in a real life event, when you look at it forensically. So, as far as I still study the film. I was able to get some 4x5 transparencies from Miss Patterson. I went to visit her in Yakima, and she allowed me to scan them, and I scanned them. I think 1800 DPI. I didn't scan them. I took them to Photo House. It's a photo shop there in Yakima, and and I paid them to scan them. And one of the guys that worked there, his father had rented Roger Patterson two cameras. That was a surprise to me because I only thought he had one, but he had two, and one was a Kodak K100, and one was a Bolex, far superior to the Kodak.
Very.
So that right there in itself complicates things,
Mhm.
because you have to ask then which one took this video, and if they did, it's possible, there's breaks in it, and people refuse to acknowledge that at first, and now I think it's widely accepted that there were some stop and starts on the camera, or
Mhm.
either something in the editing room where you just put things together. Um, and sometimes it's because it broke. If you film will break and you put it back together. It's I don't know. I can't say what, but what it causes is you got walk sequences. Like it stops, and then when it restarts, it's another scene further
Mhm.
upstream. You know, and then it does it again. So you lose track of time that way. So it complicates things pretty good. Those things we'll never be able to sort that out because we have no one to no one to question about it.
Right.
It's that all of that smacks of genuineness. You know, if it were a constructed thing, I mean, they would have had it go by perfectly. You know, uh, you see inexperienced amateurs, and you see that in the film. He's jumping around and trying to get up on a log. At least they had the wherewithal to put it on that log and get some really steady stuff too. Uh, I have nothing but praise for the Patterson and Gimlin for taking that video or that film. I think about it all the time. I encountered a bear up at Bluff Creek, and I had a camera
Mhm.
around my neck, and I was walking, looking down at my feet, and bad habit in bear country. But the bear was doing the same thing. He was walking, looking down at his feet, and I heard him breathing. That's how close. And I looked up, and I said, "Bear," and he looks up at me, and we kind of locked eyes, and I
Wow.
communicated with him in some weird way. I could tell that he wasn't going to attack me, and he just jumped off the road and went down the mountainside, and I had the camera sitting there ready to go, and I never touched it. And that's what my point was, that it's hard. It's
Mhm.
very hard. You get something like that going on. It's hard to think to get your camera up and get back behind it and click. Uh, but they were able to do that, so the
Right.
world has that marvelous footage as a result of it, and it's it should change people. We have we don't know the nature of what we're looking at. We know that it has all the tools of humanity, but there's things about it that are not non-human, but primitive. Uh, One of them is a cupped hand, and you can see it in the early frames. Frame 61, frame 72. It's got the cupped hand, and they know now. They didn't know then, but they know now that it's a characteristic of ancient man. It has something to do with the built-in ability to grasp,
Mhm.
and she's definitely got that. So, like I said, you keep on adding to uh, the plus and minus columns, and you got a heck of a plus column. It's over and over again.
Right. That's one of the things about this film that makes it very compelling to me is the fact that the more you study it, the less of a skeptic you can be. That's my, I mean, come on. Like,
Well,
even,
you have to decide whether you're going to stay with skepticism and abandon your honesty.
Mhm.
And most people will go with the honesty. Eventually,
Right.
if they have seen what I've seen, I'm sure they would.
Right. Let's talk about the frame by frame analysis. What specific frame or moment in the film stands out as the most compelling evidence to you that the subject in this video is not a man in a suit?
That's a good question. It's I don't know that there's any particular frame or incident, or whether or not it was probably a body of frames. Where you watch the thing go by in fluid motion,
Mhm.
and you can see the muscles flex on the leg,
Right.
shake. I've done some filtering that gives a better what do you call it, albedo, surface brightness, and you can see the muscles moving on the back. Uh, can I share that? Can I share that? If I were,
Absolutely.
let me just we'll go ahead and keep talking. Let me find it. I won't be long.
So, and one of the reasons why I ask that is because, I mean, it's obvious that over time, we've had a lot of people question legitimacy of the film. Like I said, you mentioned the version that was seen on television by most people over the years is not the best quality. Uh, there's a lot of people over the years too who have claimed to be able to have recreated the film. Um, those How close have they been able to come, in your opinion, to recreating this film?
Well, not at all.
Mhm.
Everything I've seen was unacceptable. Okay, I've got it. I'll show you why it's unacceptable. Here, let me find out how to share here. Let's leave studio. Present. Uh,
Mhm.
Share screen. Uh, Entire screen. Okay. Share. All right. Let me find it here. It must be back going behind it. Let's see. it behaves a little differently when it's on this program.
Right. Let me see if adding it to stage will help here. There we go.
All right. Now let's go to, let me find it here again. Neck motion. Braid walk. Oh, well, we'll get there in just a minute. Back muscles. There we go. Take a look under this scapula right here. See that muscle?
Oh, wow.
You see the glutes moving independently?
Yeah. Wow.
You see what I mean? She's got a kind of a hair arrangement. It's kind of bundled. There's some coming down the side, but this is bundled together into an arrangement. Which, I mean, that's not something that gorillas do.
No. Wow. Yeah, that is, you know,
That's why this film we shouldn't be at this point. This film should be in the books.
right.
You know, it's Bigfoot, or if this is what you want to call a Bigfoot, it should be in the books based on what the film shows. It's good enough.
Mhm.
Now let me go to another one. I'll go to glutes. People used to complain that it looked like a pillow in her, rear end, and they had problems with it. But I mean, in the early filming, look, you can clearly see two glutes there, two
Oh, yeah.
gluteus maximus. Uh, it's just the film. The whole film doesn't last but 60 seconds, and if the sun is shining at an oblique angle, you might not see it for the light hairiness. But if the sun is shining straight at it, you'll see this.
Hmm.
And what does it tell you? It tells you that it's got, plain buttocks like a person. And it's also been scooting around on it because it's worn the hair almost off,
Right.
right there on the inside pad. So that tells you a little bit about his lifestyle, that it spends his life someplace where it's either, there's low overhead, whether a cave or something, Um, and there's some more that show the glutes, maybe not quite as well, but
That is insane.
that shows that it has normal rotation of the neck.
Hmm.
People used to say that it couldn't move its head. It didn't have a neck, and that's just not true. You can see the light from the sun flash on the leg because the hair is very reflective and refractive.
Right.
Uh, and I did this one a few years ago, and I did several versions of it. I see them on the internet here and there. Some people have taken them and erased I did it with individual frames and just made it the body, come by across. But that's still, this background is one of the images I got from Patricia Patterson. See how sharp it is.
Yeah.
That's far and above what you ever saw on television.
Yeah, it's like a whole new video.
There's your cupped hand right there.
Oh wow. Yeah.
That's a sign of primitiveness. And it's what does it mean to us? It should mean just about everything. You know, we were put here to be curious enough to track these things down. Uh, and it's in some manner it's taken us back all the way back to God. And if we're going to be driven to figure these things out, if you got a film like this, it will drive you even more. As your breasts, you can see them really good right there.
Mm-hmm.
This is that filtered image that he originally worked with. I sent to Todd Gatewood,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll show you what he came up with right here. That's what his work came up with.
Wow, yeah.
Individual hairs, a gap in the eyelashes where perhaps they had a wound or something there at one time. But this is the what I was talking about. This blue above the ear, and this is that's that little braid. You can see the herringbone pattern.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming down this way. I'm going to show you what I had found all those years ago. Let me go to it. Braid walk complete. See, that's it right there. See right there. It swings around on the head, and I oscillated it back and forth where you can get a look at it. Now, when she turns around, you'll see it on her cheek. See right there.
Oh wow, yeah.
You see the ear. You can see the ear rather plainly.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And that more enhancement shows that there's a herringbone pattern. And that's what AI did not know. There's no way for AI to know that. And that Todd Gatewood did not know.
Wow.
You see, it's attached to a little longer piece of hair that's not braided, and then
Mm-hmm.
that's your braid right there, a little small one. And that's definitely agrees with this right here. So you're looking at the face of a Sasquatch, at least one.
Jeez.
We don't know everything there is about it looking at it, but we know some things. Darn sure know a lot more than we used to.
Right? It was mesmerizing to see that.
Yeah, it is. I can only imagine what it would have been like to have been there.
Wow.
Able to broad daylight like that, see everything very well.
Wow. Even the glint in the eye there.
Yeah, yeah. Some people argue that they can see a human being in there. Like they think this is a man.
Mm.
Well, if it's a man, I don't know how he got in there because you don't see a man in the film. He has to be really close to have just
Right.
his head in that eye. He'd have to be like walking side by side with it.
Wow.
But there again, there's something. This has got the chain of custody is important on a piece of really important footage,
Mm.
um, and that came from Bruce Bonney and to the internet, then to me. and eventually to Todd Gatewood. So, because the chain of custody was
Mhm.
not carefully monitored and was not carefully controlled, you you can't, that itself cannot put Bigfoot in the books.
Mhm.
You wouldn't expect it, uh, which is I plan to try to highlight that. Let me stop sharing just for a minute, and we get talk face to face here.
Mhm.
It The chain of custody,
Mhm.
once it's broken, and it's something as important, the bar is just way higher for that than anything else. Um, you almost, if you get a video or film or video of a Bigfoot, you need to try to have more than one person there, and you probably need two cameras so that one camera can film the other camera taking the film, so that it can't be argued against whether this person did this or that. Then you put it in something that you can seal up. I mean, with a seal, so that someone will have to break the seal to get into it. That's the only thing, because we are living in the age of AI and AI deviousness. People use AI to do almost anything. So this really remarkable piece of footage uh, now is it's in peril, and other footages that may be taken in the future need to work really hard to keep that chain of custody known,
Mhm.
documented. Um, because if you don't do it, then the skeptics, or some of them are flaming hardcore skeptics, and they shake their head. It's like a bobblehead doll, no matter what you show them. It's no, 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 no. That kind of person does not need to carry the day. If he's going to be like that, he needs to explain himself, and why are you like this? Why are you doing this? Uh, and he's got to be able to tell you some good reason. Just shaking your head, no, it's not good enough. And I think that a lot of shows in the past, they give the skeptics equal time, sometimes more time.
Mhm.
And all they do is just say, well, Patterson didn't pay his bills. He had debts and things, and almost went to jail because he didn't turn the camera in. Uh,
Wow.
Stuff like that meant anything to what you just saw on that footage. It has nothing to do with it. The worst scoundrel in the world can mash the trigger on a camera. Uh, so thank goodness he took one that's good enough to overcome objections.
Right. Definitely so, because there's the controversies over the year. I mean, as we progress into being able to uh, really get this film put into perspective through uh, the work that's being done on it now. I got to tell you, looking at the stuff that Todd Gatewood has done to enhance the quality of the film even more, has really left me in awe. Uh, Being able to see the detail of hair and eyelashes and stuff, it's just crazy. It's
Yeah, yeah. That's where I say, you gotta, if it moves you like that, then you know what you're looking at is not AI.
right, right.
You see something of yourself in it, something of humanity, but maybe with that primitive side,
Mhm.
living out there in the boonies, off the land, or presumably off the land, and look at the health and the girth and the weight. Where if we tried that
Mhm.
for very long, we would be gaunt, just gaunt, skinny, thin, very little body fat, and they put the weight on, so that it's got to be a metabolism a little different. What I've come to find out, just looking at tracks and stuff that I found out there personally,
Mhm.
that they weigh about double what we weigh per cubic inch.
Wow.
They had the density of their flesh is about double, and
Mhm.
that's going to mean that their vascular system is going to have to feed a lot of muscle, and the heart's going to have to be big to pump a lot of that oxygen-rich blood. Uh, they go up the mountains as if there were no strain at all, just like as if they were on level ground. They just go straight up.
Mm.
Uh, so they have those big bundles of muscle fiber, and they abundantly feed it oxygen and whatever it needs. So there's something different internally, but that may just go, maybe the way things were done back when things were primitive. If we talk about long periods of time, but out here in the boonies of Northern California and many other places, uh, they they get along just fine.
Wow. And so, those of you that are watching, leave me a comment of what you think about the evidence that you've seen tonight and throughout any investigation you've done. I would like to hear from you guys about that. So, one thing that I've wondered with all of your time that you've put into investigating and researching, how has your perspective of Bigfoot changed since you started your work?
Yeah, well, I mean, it was if when I first started, I had in mind very simple things that the film would tell its own story. But when I hit that preview that night, I was as flabbergasted as anyone. I wasn't expecting it to be that good. So it affected me. Uh, then I wanted to know what it was, the nature of it. What are we looking at there? Is it man or beast, or is it? The more you look, the more you realize that it really doesn't fit the the, the framework of an animal, with the exception that it lives primitively and off the land. But people have done that many times,
Mhm.
you know. But it contains things that to be primitive, like the cupped hand and things like that have come along. That knowledge has come along in more later years. And then you say, "Oh, wow! I wish I'd have known this 20 years ago." That's a huge plus. They found that in the Homo naledi's. You ever heard of them? The fossils that they found in a cave called Rising Star Cave in South Africa. They found 15, the bones of 15 individuals. There were two or three chambers down, and in between the chambers, they couldn't even get a man in there. They had to get women
Oh, wow.
that were small enough, and they were trained archaeologists. And they went in there and worked the site and got the bones out, and they reconstructed the bones. These doctors, Doctor Silva, I believe his name is, on my YouTube channel. I've got presentation by him where he talks they divided up the responsibilities between a list of luminaries, people good at what they do, and he had the hands, and he talked a long time about the hands and the shape of the hands, and what were people, and these were definitely people. I mean, you look at the skull, and what were they doing underground, way down in there? 15 of them,
Yeah.
you know. But then remember Patty, and she's got them worn out spots on her rear end from scooting
Mhm.
around somewhere where there was low overhead. So you begin to put a few things together. So way up in those mountains and the foothills, they call them the Siskiyous, but
Mm.
they're essentially in the foothills of Mount Shasta. Mount Shasta is about 65, 70 miles away. And it has its own share of Bigfoot stories.
Yeah.
But there was one guy who said that he actually went in a cave system, and when he came out, I don't know how long cavers stay in, but he said he was in the what you call the headwaters or the excuse me, upstream side of
Mhm.
Bluff Creek. So that caught my attention.
Yeah.
So if they could travel underground, that listed that kind of a distance. Yeah. Uh, I remember Don Monroe and myself, we were trying to go up the mountainside on the other side of the film site, and we felt the ground to be warm. It was warm. Uh, and then they had a little mountain brook coming down the side of the mountain and goes off in a hole in the ground.
Mhm.
That's the end of it. It don't emerge anywhere.
Mhm.
It's going somewhere down underneath, subterranean. So it should be little clues, you know, to go by. Why? How can they disappear so fast? If they know where to go to, they can just drop down a hole.
Right.
You know, that's they. We don't live there, but they do. They know where they all are. That's
Definitely so.
very interesting.
What? So we've got a couple of people that ask about the fence climber video. Apparently, they want you to talk about it a little bit.
Well, the fence climber video is actually a lot of people ask me about that one. When I first got those tapes, they were from East Texas. I received them in a big old tub. It was about 50 6-hour long cassettes, the old style big cassettes.
Oh, wow.
And I was down in the back. I'd had back surgery, so I just had a lot of time trying to heal up. So I just would sit and watch those tapes, and then you're watching long periods of time where nothing happens, and then all of a sudden you got 30 or 40 seconds of Bigfoot stuff happening, and then it goes back to the nothing happened again. You had to, if you weren't careful, you could lose them.
Mhm.
One of them was the fence climber, and I didn't find out till later on when I met the people who put the equipment out there. They just left it running. They didn't have motion detection or anything like that. They just set it up and cut it on. And this this fence climber thing occurred when they were. It actually was a culmination of a long period of what you call habituation. I don't know if that's the right word, but the researchers there realized that they were moving these. There was a bridge on the back of the place in a little country road, and people had thrown some tires off the bridge, and these tires were being moved around and thrown around at night. So they realized that that these tires meant something. So they took a chain and chained all the tires together, and it really kind of enraged the Bigfoot or whatever you want to put a name on them. And so they began to get angry, and they pick it up on the audio of their videotapes. They'd leave them going all night. And so they began to pull those tires closer and closer to the back toward the homestead, to the farmhouse. Over a long period of time, they got them up into the garden, and they staked them out with this big old metal stake. And what you're seeing there is they're obsessed with those tires, and they're fighting over them. There's more than one. If you watch the entire length of that thing, there's several of them. One of them's white, and the one you see there and the fence climbers, dark colored. And they're trying to get, for some reason, trying to get to those tires, and it's like a competition. And they even fight over it. I mean, I've got one called Tall Paul. I don't know if you've seen that one, but there's two Bigfoot fight each other, and then a much larger one comes out and breaks it up. They're fighting over the tires, which is an odd thing. I didn't find that out until I was able to question the person, but what you see there is the Bigfoot goes along the fence line in that garden, and he goes out through, I think the corn or whatever is taller, disappears. Then you hear these, what do you call those things? Guinea fowl. You ever heard of a guinea fowl open up? They got this real raspy.
Oh yeah.
They're like guard dogs. I mean, they see anything out of the way and they start, sounding off. And all of a sudden, here he comes back. He's running because the guinea fowl have seen him, and he runs back and does that flip that leg over that fence, and was gone. And I went to the place and I took my own picture there, standing beside the fence, and I kind of melded the two together, and you can see, you can appreciate more the size of the individual, where you don't get good perspective unless you have something other to look at. And that's when when I produced that, a lot of people began to see that it was really quite a thing there, unusual size, and also unusual looking. I was able to get a couple of frames where you could see the slope of the head, coming back, extended up like that. Fantastic piece of footage, but it really helps to know the setting, the context of what was going on there. That's why I hate to call it habituation. Maybe it's more like a provocation.
Mm.
That they did things that they could see, like if something messed with they make these setups, and they put things out there, just different things, and try to see if any of it gets moved, and if they did move it, they make a note of the color and say, well, it moved the red. Well, let's try more red things. And they began to determine that red, well, then they can see in color, because not the whole entire animal kingdom can't. So then you kind of know, well, it prefers that color. For some reason, it gets their attention more. So that's, to me, it's just common sense, just some good researching. It's not necessarily that it was a good place for good researchers, and it was a good combination. And they went on for about 3 or 4 years there, and
Oh,
they improved their equipment. And like I said, I've got stuff that I haven't even put out uh, from there. But since then, the man who owned the man and his wife have both passed away,
hmm,
and it's somebody's renting to own or something like that. I'm not sure, uh, but it's still a very very interesting place. I
right.
was really glad I got to go there.
Wow. Yeah, it sounds kind of, it's, I said this not too long ago, and I'm going to say this again because what you said about the tires made me think of this. I don't think it's an issue any longer of whether or not Bigfoot is real. We already know that. That's my opinion, but I feel like that question is kind of a moot point now. We have enough of information to know that there is something out there. What we do not know is why they do the things they do and what they're up to a lot of times. Because, for instance, tires, what are they wanting with the tires? Is it are they fascinated by the rubber? What is it? Um, the structures that they leave behind a lot of times, what are they doing? Are they communicating? What's going on there?
That's can't ask them. I don't guess. Maybe something. Maybe you can. I don't know, but I haven't figured out how to. Uh, there's people who on the other side of Bigfoot, the stranger side,
Mhm.
who say that they can mentally speak with them, which I can't get in anybody's head, so I really can't say whether they can or can't, other than I take their word for it, you know. And somebody was, I met somebody that said they could do that, and they all after dark went to the woods, and I went down there with them and just as an observer. And if they were talking to somebody, they weren't. They had the question, then they had the answer, and we all had a chance to ask a question. So that I don't know. That's it all seems strange and wonderful at the same time.
Mhm. Definitely. So, do you fall into the more of the flesh and blood side, or the woo factor, as they call it?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about the woo if it's an accurate way of putting it. Flesh and blood. I know that they are flesh and blood. They're not an imaginary thing, uh, but there's a side of them that is poorly understood, or maybe not understood at all,
Hmm.
where they're able to perform some things that are just outstandingly strange. I remember following a set of tracks at Bluff Creek, and these were so heavy. They were 10 centimeters deep, which is right at 4 inches deep,
Yeah.
and I could not even put a dent in that. This is October, and it hadn't rained, and the sand just settled and become hard. Uh, and it was about 12 to 15 tracks, wow, 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 like that. And then they stopped. I don't know where did it go? You know, how did it not continue to leave tracks? I didn't, that's I got footage of that.
Hmm.
Uh, and it was so. There's a lot to that story. Uh, I'm trying to lace all of the stuff that I know about Bluff Creek into a coherent form, and maybe put it out there for the benefit of others. But that was, it just goes back to that weight that we were
Mhm.
talking about, the density. Some of the really, really experienced researchers, highly skilled people, like John Green, who's passed away now.
Mhm.
But John Green says, "I'll give $100,000 to anybody who can make a track this deep at Bluff Creek." He had one of the Patterson casts, and that one I saw was deeper than any of the Pattersons. They were deep, and but John Green understood that it wasn't how high tall it was, or it wasn't. It was the weight that was the most outstanding thing. That it seemed to defy physics.
Mhm.
You know, to weigh that much, and what are you made of internally? The structure of the bones, of the once you get past a certain point in weight,
Mhm.
the design of our foot is no longer any good. You'll wear it all out real fast, where they rub each other, and it has to change in there somewhat, and the bones have to be bigger if they're made out of the same bony material, or maybe they're made of different bony material. I don't know, but there you go. You see how it leads the train of thought. If you're a curious person, to you get enough evidence to make you ask more
Right.
questions, and
Right.
you're dealing with something outstanding now. What have they done to people? Uh, I've seen electronics malfunction
Mhm.
in Bigfoot area where you kind of knew they were there somewhere. And brand new camcorder. Matter of fact, I've got it right here. Looking at it over there now. It was brand new, and the little LCD screen just went to solid snow. You know, you do everything on that screen. And it didn't come back until we left there, and it came back, and it's never malfunctioned since. So you have to ask the question: what batteries run down when you just charged them? You know, you find them, go get it out, and it's down already. That's high strangeness.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also the same sort of thing that has been reported to happen with people who research the paranormal, where equipment just goes down all of a sudden in a certain area. Batteries get drained, um, equipment malfunctions, turns off by itself, that sort of thing. So I often wonder if there's a connection somewhere between cryptids and the paranormal in that sense. Uh,
Good question.
yeah.
It seems almost too complicated to even search it all out, or sort it all out. But you just keep plugging at it because you don't get all your information at one time. A lot of time it comes in snippets, and if you're paying attention, you realize that this over here that happened 6 months ago may have happened again over here, but it, this right in addition, something else happened. You begin to try to put it together in some form that will give you an understanding, like constructing a jigsaw puzzle. Once you begin to get that uh, picture of what's on top of the box, in your puzzle pieces, it starts to come on together a lot faster. It becomes coherent, and I think it's like
Mhm.
that. It takes a person who's just more or less hard headed. Just you just don't give up, and you don't get overly disappointed. When things don't come,
Mhm.
and you keep at it, and try to put it together. And advancements sometimes it'd be years before anything happens, and all of a sudden things happen all at once.
Yeah.
Just bam, bam, bam.
Mhm.
And I've had days when I went out to Bluff Creek, and the whole day was full of Bigfoot this and Bigfoot, tracks. I had some kind of a little fetus come floating down the creek with a little umbilical cord. You know, is that what what is that? I've been around outdoors all my life. I've never had that happen. That's something that Bluff Creek just gave me. I don't know why. I filmed it, but we put it in a plastic bag, but we didn't. We let it go bad, and I think they
Mhm.
ended up Don and him threw it away.
Mhm.
I do have it. Uh, Hold on just a minute. Maybe I can find that. Just a second. Let me wake my hard drive up. There we go. Wait a minute. There it is. All right. I'm gonna play a little short clip.
Okay.
Now let me go ahead and get back on. Am I still on share? I'm not on share now, am I?
Mm,
I think I got to go back through that again.
yeah, because it's somebody was asking what time of year this was that you filmed this.
This was in October of 2008. Okay, you're gonna have to do that what you did a while ago.
Okay.
Well, there we go. All right, here he goes. It is.
M.K. found this in the stream next to the rocks on the shoreline. We're going to put this in a baggie and take it back for whatever reason. Who knows? But it's possible M.K. was just a human. I don't know. I have no idea. Know that, but the thing is, we're in an area now with all kind of abstracts, anomalies. Do we know? We do not know. You always put a rock in it and throw it. Ken says. Okay. Yeah. I'll come across and get it. It's a fetus, Ken. I don't know anything about fetuses. It doesn't have any limbs. It's too young to even have limbs. It wouldn't be more than 6 weeks old. It's in my estimation. I don't think it's got an umbilical cord. In the womb, it wouldn't be more than 6 inches long. 6.5 ounces long. Can't tell, really. You're the most doctor guy along. You tell us about it. Bring it here. Dr. Ken? There you go, Don. So it's sealed up. I'll let him seal it. I'll take it to him. fetus. Real small.
And this is a filtered image that kind of lets you see underneath that membrane. It
Oh,
does
wow.
have limbs on it. I was wrong about that. And it just does not go in the back end of it. This is laying over on it and actually goes underneath it, attaches somewhere on the other side.
Mm.
You can see something inside of that membrane, but I think it was just a huge mistake not to just take it and leave right then, uh, because of the potential. You know,
Mhm. Wow, yeah.
it's got, you see the little, it's got a head, like a, I don't know if this is normal or not. I couldn't even say. Uh, I've never seen anything like that.
Mm-mm.
But that goes back to the, Bluff Creek being, a place of strangeness anyway. Uh,
Yeah.
so that whole day was full of stuff like that. It was just unreal.
Wow, yeah. That,
There upon the mountainside of Northern California in the foothills of Mount Shasta, which is one of the strangest mountains.
yes.
Just go and Google Mount Shasta. You get all kinds of stories. Uh, the McCloud River, which is on the south side of the mountain,
Hmm.
about lots of Bigfoot stories. And they had that story where that little boy was missing for a while, and when they questioned him, he said his grandmother had taken him into a cave. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
in that area. That's not far from Bluff Creek.
Mm-mm.
You know, uh, that's why I say I don't. When you talk about woo
Hmm.
and whether it was flesh and blood or woo, I think maybe it's more like flesh and blood and woo. You know, uh, the whole area seems to be full of strange occurrences. And when a person has a lapse of time, he goes missing and they find him, and
Hmm.
he don't know that 3 days he's been out there for 3 days. You know, that's a that's something caused that. You
Yeah.
know, when time is kind of a strange thing to measure. Your body does it by it's both distance and speed, and and it's also to some degree observation. Uh, but the faster you go, the shorter the distance until you eventually go ultimately fast, and there's no distance, and then everything becomes a singularity,
Hmm.
just a single spot of enormous density. And so that's when you get into the some of the physics. And Ron Moorhead is a really good person to talk to about that. When you're talking about quantum and quantum entanglements and things like that. But something in Northern California, in those foothills of Shasta, is is not what I would call a normal at all. And you just about have to be prepared for anything when you go in there. I went in there. Uh, I didn't know this, but they eventually found this out that 3 people had gone missing in that Bluff Creek area.
Hmm.
It's been uh, that we found that out in 2020, and it'd been 10 years then. So that put it back to a time when I went out there and I had my son with me, and I had Don Monroe with me, and they had the place all locked down. And we were wondering about that. We walked in there. it's 8 miles back in there, after you cross the gate. And we were back there, and then all of a sudden, this white pickup truck comes from the other direction. There's 2 ways to get in, Fish Lake and that lake. And it's a guy who said he's a ranger, but he wasn't wearing a uniform. And he says, "Look, I'm gonna give you guys a ride out." He says, "I'm not supposed to do that, but if I leave you back here, you could die." And I didn't know at the time that there were 3 people missing. And I wondered to myself, why does he think we would die? We didn't die coming in, but he seemed to be rather sure of it. So later on, Don and I, this was in 2020, we found this. There was a tree, and there was a limb that had been broken off and snapped, to where it was a staff, and leaned against the tree. And then down at the bottom, there was a little altar built of flat top stones. And on top of that was these big, huge sugar pine cones, about a foot or more long. And they were arranged around the bottom. Like, the first thing that struck me was it was a memorial of some kind, like somebody was acknowledging. And we made our own staff and put it up there beside it and left. And we went out onto this road that goes up into the hills, toward the top of the ridges. And lo and behold, we came upon another one. And it was built just like that, when it had a staff leaning against the tree, and it had the altar thing at the bottom and the pine cones. And then up high, it had a screwdriver jammed or driven all the way up to the handle. And this was so high, I could stretch and just barely touch it.
Oh, wow.
And then above that was a little plastic Jesus that was wired to the tree with some old rusty wire. It was wrapped around. And we definitely got the impression it was a memorial. Who built it? Who built it? I don't know, but I just feel like that it was in recognition of those people who were missing.
Right.
So there you go. I'm a guy from way off somewhere. I come in on that, and next thing you know, I'm sort of interlaced. I become an observer, and I get some of the meaning.
Mm.
Get it all, but I get some of it. And it just, to me, it's a all encompassing place. It all seems interconnected. There's 2 mountain peaks there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why they call this sacred Indian land. This is why it's sacred. The Hoopas and the Yurok and the Karuks all believe that at one time there was another type of human living there, and they returned to the stars through a hole in the sky off those 2 peaks. And that's their firm belief. And they train their shamans on those 2 peaks. They go up there for a prescribed amount of time alone. And whatever energy that is in those 2 peaks, that's what they're seeking to have, some kind of guidance or a vision from it. So you see that the whole area is a special place.
It definitely is. When pilgrimage there to Shasta, as soon as I got out of the vehicle, we were at the visitor center right across from the mountain. And, the energy of that area literally knocked me to my knees. I was like, wow, this is powerful, very powerful area. I want to ask you the about Todd Gatewood's uh, work that he's doing right now, because I find that very fascinating. Um, do you think that Gatewood's enhancements clarified aspects of the film, or do they introduce more ambiguity?
Well, I haven't seen anything other than what he did with this one frame.
Hmm.
Uh, so I really don't know. I don't know the quality that he's working with. On those frames, other frames.
Hmm.
I wish him the best. Uh, but I always check things against the film. If he's got stuff that's better than the film that I have, then I know that what he must have done to have gotten it better. He had to source a real high quality, version of the film,
Hmm.
and then you start with better, you end up with better. You know, uh, so I just kind of leave it like that. I haven't spoken with him in quite a while.
Hmm.
He's kind of went his own way, and I went mine, and we didn't. We're still good, but it's sometimes it's just a lonely loner journey.
Yeah, yeah. It'll definitely be interesting to see the results. I know he's still working on the film at this point. Um,
Well, I hope he's able to do something. Some more good work with it. This right here is pretty fantastic.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, I'm amazed by that. I really am. One other thing that I want to ask you for sure, because there's a lot of people who are out there who are just getting started with doing real research and so forth. What would you say to somebody who was just beginning to look into the Patterson-Gimlin film for themselves? Where should they start?
I tell you what to be. To you got to start with quality if you're interested in the
Mhm.
film itself to get a good decision. What you're looking for is something to help you make up your mind whether you think that Bigfoot exists or not. You got to get past that it exists, and once you get past that, then the nature of it, what it is.
Mhm.
But I'll venture to say that anyone can make an impact in this field. Everybody brings something to the table. If you want to go that in that direction and look into the film, go to my channel, YouTube channel. Start there.
Mhm.
Check out Todd's. I don't know what all he's got on his now, but and I also have a WordPress site, uh, the davisreport.wordpress.com. It's got a lot of good stuff on it. My YouTube is I think it's Greenwave FB 2010, I believe.
Mhm.
It's an old football channel that uh, the football kind of went away, and I moved all my Bigfoot stuff over there. Some people get irritated because they're looking for my name, but once I did it, I didn't want to go through it again, so I just kept adding to it.
Right, right. And the link is up on the screen right now for that too. Thank you, Pam.
Oh, she got it right. I got it wrong. FB's at the end. I got my own site wrong.
Pam is definitely fast at it. She had those links ready before the show even started tonight. Uh, well, I gotta tell you, I really appreciate you coming on tonight.
Sure thing.
As usual, Man, you share a lot of good stuff. My head is always spinning after watching one of your interviews, so I've been waiting for a while for this one, and I gotta tell you, never disappointed in what you bring to the table. So I appreciate you, and I thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
What closing statement would you like to leave with us, or closing thought would you like to leave with us tonight?
Well, I would like to leave with I'm hoping that I've encouraged people and stimulated them to make their own search, and whatever talents that you have, bring them to the fore, use them, and also to keep in mind the chain of custody. It's becoming just more and more critical that if you were to find, and get this seminal piece of evidence, make sure that nobody can snatch a rug out from under you. Taking care of it, and you know who's seen it, you know under what circumstance, so no one can call it into question. It's a lot of extra work, but it's worth it to have all that, where you can prove it.
Right, definitely so. And I agree with you about everybody has something they can bring to the table with this. All eyes on the evidence always brings more information.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I'm going to go on and close this out. If you'll hold on in the back area for just a moment, I'll be back with you in just a moment.
Sure.
Wow. Okay, guys, that is, I don't know about you, but I've got notes here to look over tonight, and I'm going to have a lot on my mind for the next day or two at least. As always, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We had a record number of viewers tonight for this show up to now, so I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys for sharing in the chat tonight, and for just being amazing people. And thank you to my mods, always the best team. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel thoroughly for the upcoming shows. I have a long list of very good shows coming up, very strong shows coming up in the next few weeks. So definitely check it out. I look forward to seeing you guys on those as well. And may your journey always be magical.
I've waited for so long to see when you come back to me. Through the wars and battles that were lost, we're born again, it's you and me. The rest is history. Past lives. Past lives. Did we dance together on different floors in 1500 or 1504? We must have been lovers, we must have been something in our past lives.